Hello. Oh my gosh. Hello. Welcome in. Hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Ooh, yes. Hello. Welcome to everybody that's saying hi in the chat. Hello to Diego, to Evan, to Gilliam, to Zedric, to Trude. Hello, Trude. Dator MX. Oh, hello, Nicholas. Thank you so much. Ooh, yes. Tell us where you are tuning in from. And thank you so much, everyone, for all of the congratulations. Um, yes, welcome in. Um, ooh, ooh, something has happened. um, But speaking of which, we want to thank Jason Lengstorf, so much. Thank you so much for helping us manage the stream so that Nadieh and I could just concentrate on kind of like uh, on just the celebration. So thank you so much to Jason. Yeah, Nadieh, do you
I'm
want to?
still. I think I'm still hearing the background music. Is that true? It's not
Oh,
just me.
I think I turned it down a lot, but I was gonna keep it going for a little bit. Do you guys, everybody
Okay.
in the
Okay.
chat, do you like how just every stream that we do, it's kind of like a there's always something. There's always something that is gonna go a little bit awry.
Yeah, but that's kind of the fun of it, right? Because it's not scripted. Well, of course we've prepared, but from this moment on, it's partially improvised, which
Oh yeah,
which and
I
I'm not a Twitch expert, so this is if something goes wrong, it's on me probably.
No. Oh, and also, I'm just gonna have to make a comment of like this lighting makes me look like a vampire. It's great. Just like- Anyways, Nadi, shall we get started?
Yes, let's get actually started. Yes.
Oh, a housekeeping item. Nadi, do you want to tell us about the signed copies?
Yes. So we have created signed copies. Even in the like in the pandemic, we can't actually make that happen by coming together and making writing signing the same book. So what we did was I got a bunch of labels and I wrote my name on half of it, and then I shipped them to Shirley, and she wrote her name on the other half, both in like teal and pink colors, so quite nice. And then we sent it to the publisher, and they then carefully placed a label in each of the books. And if you've signed up to be here, you've probably seen, at least through the title link, you've seen our very secret steps to actually get your hands on a signed copy, plus the 20% discount code that we managed to get for you. And uh, after this stream, we'll be sharing the link to get these one of these copies. And what we've heard from the publisher is that a little of have disappeared by now. So if you wanna get your hands on one of these, you should be quick. So it's like it's bonus. You get a signed copy plus. You're directly, helping our publisher. Plus, it's a 20% discount, so it's like win-win-win.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, and shout out to RJ for the idea of sending labels around instead of like 100 books because and I think we've actually started seeing people have been tweeting us that they've gotten our book, and it is everybody's reaction is that it's huge. And you know what I just realized in my excitement for setting up the stream, I forgot to the my book is currently on the coffee table and not beside me because
Oh,
because of course there's at least one thing I'll forget. Yeah, but shout out to RJ for the idea of the labels, and we've also gotten some confusion. People have been a little bit confused about if they've like pre-ordered before, like when we first announced it back in December, if their copy is going to be the signed copy. Unfortunately, we couldn't like we that's like logistically a different like if you pre-ordered, especially if you pre-ordered not through our publisher, like we couldn't, set that aside to be the signed copy. The signed copies are an extra set of books that we've set aside that will have the signed labels in them. So I think that was a little bit lost in communication. And Nadieh, if you want to start showing off the book, I'm gonna go get mine.
Oh my god, here's the monster. Oh my god, it's so big it barely fits on my screen. So it's pretty huge. It's pretty thick. It is very colorful and gorgeous. And there's like this nice spot UV on here. Oh, I was so when I opened the postage to get my book, the first thing I thought was, oh my god, it was so big. Even though we both gotten like proofs of several pages and we knew how big it was going to be, but then just seeing it all wrapped together, it's just something else. And also Shirley and I asked for a hardcover, so that's why ours is this sturdy, but the paperback is also quite nice. And but yeah, so here's our book. Yay!
Yay! Okay, so I've got
Oh,
mine.
yes.
Ooh, there was a note in the chat. Somebody was saying, Lauren said that they could not sign up on the forms page. That might be because of how I set up Tito. So after this live stream, I'll like reopen that form. But yeah, it is heavy. Can you imagine shipping 100 of this to you from Canada, where our publisher is, and then over to me, and then back to the printer?
God, yes, that would have been yes.
Yes, it is a weapon. Ooh, thank you so much, Nano Fufu, for ordering. Oh, the book, yes. The book can be a hat. Yes, that is a thing.
Yes. You should also keep it away from like small pets in the case you might drop it.
Oh no. Ooh,
Yeah.
Linky2 just said they just ordered two. The Hester View says they're excited to get the book. Wonder how long it will take to make it to Canada. Ooh, there's another housekeeping point about UK and Europe, huh, Nadieh?
Oh yeah. It seems so. Our because we wanted some special things like an extra thick cover and the spot UV. The book was printed in the US, and it seems that there's been a slight delay in getting the book to the UK and Europe. Or so that's going to be. It should come to you a week later, so on the 16th. I hope that's that's 1 week you can get to it. Like it's only 7 more nights.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The interesting adventures of trying to publish a book during the pandemic is
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we flip through it?
Ooh, yeah,
I don't know how easily we can show it.
Yeah, it
Wow.
do you have stronger wrists than me? I don't know. I'm putting it on my
No,
neck.
probably not. Probably this is very heavy.
Oh no.
It turned out really nice.
It is beautiful. Okay, we're like both struggling. Ooh, Zetrick says.
Wait. Let me.
Oh yeah.
Let me get one of my favorite pages. It's so heavy.
Hello, Moritz. Welcome in from Germany. And Trash Dad, thank you so much for the cheers. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I'm so flattered, Nadieh, that that's your favorite page. So, we have, oh, actually, Nadieh, is it okay if I read something from the intro that I think kind of gives a good context to this book? So,
of course.
We wrote an intro that we're pretty excited about, but the part that I think, let me read that out. So this book is just as much about the 24 individual data visualizations that we created as it is a celebration of the technical and personal growth we've gone through in this 4-year journey. It's a snapshot in time to commemorate the immense impact Data Sketches has had on our lives, allowing us to quit our full-time jobs, launch thriving freelance careers, travel the world to talk about our work, and develop beautiful friendships. Yeah. Oh, and a shout out to Marin who had the cutest not question but comment when she signed up for this live stream. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed that Maroon was a she. Sorry, they said." I'm 12 and my dad is a data scientist. He pre-ordered this book. I want to see what it is like. It just warms my heart. Yeah. There is so many like delightful things. We tried to make this book. Nadieh, like our goal with this book was that it is just as beautiful and delightful to flip through on a coffee table, but that it has that the content is quality content too. That if you choose to read it, we poured a lot of our hearts into making sure that the write-ups are, like well explained, and that it's not too verbose, and and that we like included all of these different technical lessons. Just like how we think about our data visualizations, that we want the aesthetics to grab people's attention on the first go, and then kind of like then lure them in with the content. That's what we tried to do with this book, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
um,
So should we show them how the book looked before it looked the way it did when it
oh
was
yeah.
fully published?
I like there's a comment that said never too young to appreciate great data viz. So we've gathered some of the questions from your teacher tickets, and one of them was who designed the book and how did that process go? So we thought that it might be fun to just show you all of the iterations of the design. Jason, if I can get your help switching to the screen share. Thank you so much. So I think it's actually probably good to start with the inside, right? Because that's where we started like 3 years ago. Was this 2018 when we were first coming up with the
Yes.
inside?
Yes, in 2018. So we first had the post-its. So we were together for a week. Shirley was visiting the Netherlands and she was staying with me. And during that week, we figured kind of we wanted to create our own design instead of just having some straightforward textbook feel. So we kind of scratch down and put notes on a page like how we want different things, like the lessons, the start, the title pages. So this is from then, the ideas that we had in the very early days. Yeah.
Ooh, any
And
specific pages you want me to go to so you can explain?
no, I mean it's very general. The idea that we would have gutter notes was already there from the beginning, like these sort of side thoughts or funny things, or and that the images could be, full width or body width, and or take up the gutter note, that kind of to play with the sort of spacing. Um, but lots has changed.
Oh yeah.
We did take these sketches, and to help our publisher turned it into an example chapter. So this was the first one. So I just made it in Illustrator. I don't have InDesign, so that was a little bit of a manual labor and not so easy to change. I found out later, but this is the very first sort of actual design, how we thought we wanted the book to look. So it still uses the fonts from our website. Um, and here we have the lessons in pink with the images. Yeah.
Oh yeah, these are the lessons. Interesting question about planned color strips on the side. So the color strips on the side, so the very first time it was just this tiny little one to have the like page numbers, right? And then over the years it evolved into so this is another version that I think after we started doing a little bit of after we started kind of editing the content, we came back to the design and we kind of redesigned it a little bit, right? And then we had this idea of wanting to have the page numbers on the side be kind of like, you know, in dictionaries, I don't know how to describe this, but like in dictionaries, you have like, if you look at the side of the book, like if you look at it from the side, then you can like see like where ABCD is. And originally we had this idea of maybe being able to tell exactly which chapters were where, but at the
Mm.
very least to be able to tell where like Nadieh's chapters were and where my chapters were. And we always had the idea of color coding our chapters. So although I think Nadieh started out pink and I was
Yeah.
green, and then
Yeah.
somehow in later design process, like it flipped around. um, yeah, wait, so let me show. Yeah, so
This
actually
one isn't
this,
that very different from the
that's
last
true,
one,
that's
only
true.
like the side things. So I think
Yeah.
it then was turned into a sample chapter by our publisher. Not well, a company hired by a publisher, and they chose October. I think I think this is the first iteration that they shared in which we supplied feedback, but you can see it's very much in line with our original design. This was in January of 2020, I believe. Yes,
Yeah,
so
you're
that's
right.
already quite a bit later.
Oh,
We
a
weren't quite
year
happy
ago.
with how this looked. Yeah, it's a year ago. But we approved it, and then we got the actual sort of proofs, the first proofs. When was that? That must have been. So this is not
Maybe
actually
June or
the.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think what happened there was that we realized after we got the first set of proofs from our publisher that our design didn't scale very well to the rest of the chapters. And I think that I distinctly remember we had this conversation where we were talking about how our designs, like all of our chapters laid out in our design, it felt kind of, what do we call it, like a C plus sort of design.
Yeah.
like
No. Like it
like
felt like a
it's
C minus, and we wanted
C
an
plus, C
A.
minus, and we were like, we want an A plus. And I think that was when we recognized that, like, yes, we know enough like information design to be able to make our data visualizations, but like book design is like book layout is like a completely different world that like, because neither of us have design training, like I think we just didn't know how to go about it. And that's when we
Yeah.
realized that we needed help. So we actually, this is Nadieh, you found this design agency because they designed a book that you really like.
Yes, they designed Sandra Rankin's the history of information graphics, and I really liked how kind of bold they made that with these colors and fonts. And and then we looked at their website, and then you found specific examples of books that you felt like, yes, this seems like it could work for us as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we show Praline's design, so it was our design is done by Praline, which is is it designed by Praline.co? Is it .co or .com? A great design agency based in London, and they have a
Hmm.
lot of experience designing books, and so that's why we got in touch with them. But before we show their design proposals, should we kind of like shift to the cover, because this is kind of like the chronological story of what happened, right?
Yeah. Sounds good. The cover was a semi-separate thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
So this was the very
we
first iteration. Yeah. Sorry, Nadi, you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go.
no, it's fine. No, it's this is the first iteration. How did you describe it again? What was
No,
it
no, no.
again?
We don't need to go into details. So this was April of last year. And I think they laid it out how we asked them to lay it out. And then that was again, like we were like, hey, can you show like a few of our,
Hmm.
can you show a few of our favorite projects side by side? And I think we had something in our mind. Yeah, it is really different, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think in our heads, I think it made sense what we had in mind. But when we saw it, it really we realized. because the two of us have like pretty different styles, that when we put it on a cover together, it looks so like it doesn't look cohesive. And that's
Yeah.
again when we realize like, oh, we really need help again with like the cover, and we really need a great cover design. And that's when we like kind of started asking some design friends for like feedback of how they might do like go about the cover. And Alice, shout out to Alice, who I think is in the stream also. Alice is a dear friend and a studio mate, and she has, yeah, right. So she has this
Nice.
beautiful, colorful, like whimsical style. And she was like, hey, like, I can just, like, do you want me to take a stab at this? And we were like, what? Wait, do you have the time? Because like Alice is an amazing illustrator and muralist, and she is busy. So we were like, "Are you sure you have time?" Um, oh, Alice's last name is Alice Lee. So this is her website is at byalicely.com. Ooh, thank you, Cole, for saying the final one pulls everything together so beautifully. Um, and so she kind of like, you know, casually starts sending us ideas. So this is the very first iteration of an idea of, and she was just like doing this like as a friend. She wasn't like, you know, commission me or anything. She was like, oh, this is a fun idea. And she was just kind of like riffing. And so, yeah. And we loved it so much, right, Nadieh?
Yes.
Yeah. And we loved how like, you know, because Nadieh has being my studio mate, Nadieh has seen our work kind of like she's kind of like, you know, her desk is right by mine, and she's kind of seen my work and she's seen your work. So she has like a good understanding of our aesthetic and style. And even from like the first idea, she was like an artistic display of all your beautiful projects, a swirl of creativity. So good. um
Yeah, and
yeah.
when we saw this, we were sold immediately.
Oh yeah.
It's like, please make this into a reality. Also because of the idea that with her beautiful style, she could bring all of these very different
Mm.
projects together into one coherent sort of cover. And even then, she gave us like 5 different final versions that we could choose from. She went like beyond what we even asked. That was really cool.
Yeah, her professionalism is like top notch. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She did the Slack illustrations, and I think Dropbox. She did Dropbox, and she has like, yeah, top notch. And so these were all of the illustrations, and I think we actually do
This
we
one.
it was it this one that we actually landed on, I think summer of last year.
Yeah.
Um and then so this was, oh yeah, yeah, this was the
That's the
final
final
version.
with the back. It has like some other colors incorporated into it as well.
Yeah, so this is, oh wait, did you say that there's a, oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, I thought
here.
I included the one
Yeah,
on the
yeah, there we
back.
go, there we go. And so this one has like 8 of our projects in there, right? But then like it's like Alice made sure to color balance it so that it like looked all uniform and cohesive. And then there's like, yeah, there's film flowers, and there's
Olympic
Olympic
feathers.
feathers, and there's Dragon Ball Z here. And then I think this is my travel project. There's Legends, Cardcaptor Sakura. Yeah, so this was the version. Then we have 6 minutes to tell everyone about
Yeah, we move it on.
yeah,
Yes.
the insight. So then we got so many proposals from Praline. And the thing that I think was amazing from the get-go was their way of information hierarchy, right? Um,
Hmm.
so actually, let's just scroll
All the way
um,
to
to
yeah, like
the sample parts. We don't have to go into the, yeah. So they like started kind of being like, let's have some breathing room for each topic. And yeah, so they started, oh, and they like suggested some beautiful typefaces for us too. um
hmm
but like from the get-go, what we loved was the way that they decided to organize all of the like meta information, right? Like all of these.
yeah, yeah, along the sides of the every side of the page has the different things so you know where you are, which chapter, and also the idea that the lessons would be sort of offset slightly. and the gutter notes in different colors. Yeah, that was the information hierarchy we loved from the start. Yes.
And then I think,
And I think, yeah.
oh yeah, sorry, go on.
No, and then we just requested specific changes about the fonts and the like the combination of fonts and definitely colors, like more color combinations. And the idea they came up with the idea that there should
Bam!
be like a shared color. Yeah, this is and they went with like bold colors. And some of the pages were we agreed upon pretty quickly, and some of them went through a lot more iterations. Like the title page of each chapter went through quite a few iterations, even quite late into the redesign, and especially these sort of final screenshot pages. Those we kept on asking changes to the main design for that one. So here again, another change for the title pages and getting closer to the final colors now and the feeling of
Yeah, these were all of
yeah.
the different color choices. And I think I remember distinctly at this point, we were like, okay, all of their designs, this feels like in like it's like it's so close. It's like it feels like an A minus, and we're so close to the A plus, and we were like, we don't know how to get it to the A plus. Like maybe maybe this is it. Like maybe we just like put out this A minus. Like we feel like it's A minus because like I think they like did such a good job capturing what we wanted, but like something felt like it was missing. And then I think it was like through the like weeks and weeks of iterations of like, this color, or like, would you please do, like, let me show the screenshot section of like, it took us so long to get, do you want to talk about the screenshot section and all of the iterations we went through there?
Sure. Although I don't think we have time if you also still
Oh,
want to
you're
go
right. You're right.
through the. So these are some of the last screenshot sections actually. So we picked one of these, the middle one, I believe. But we had like full colored backgrounds, thick stroke backgrounds, completely different background, and then started on the left side, on the right side page. And it was always, it never felt good until like the final one when we felt like, oh, okay, so this page finally shows that something different is going on here without actually taking over the page too much. And they also made some cover designs, as you can see here, to fit the inside of the book.
And they had some really cool ideas about like kind of like jackets, or like they were the ones that insisted on the spot. What's it called? The UV spot.
UV spot,
That's spot
spot
printing.
UV, something,
Spot
something.
UV, and things that we would have never thought of, but like because they're professionals, they knew. And then it was a matter of trying to get their style, which was a lot more minimal, combined with what Alice had already presented for the cover, which was a little bit like more like.
Yeah.
And then Alice went in and did one final iteration for us, where, she then kind of considering what Praline gave us and considering what she had already given us as the cover, Alice went through and did one final iteration, and this is the final cover. So,
Yay.
yes.
It's so gorgeous if you see it just lying around.
Yeah, we're so
So
happy
happy.
with how it turned out, how well it like brings everything together. So we actually we have a few more questions that we were going to answer about the kind of the book, and but it is actually time for us to have Alberto join.
Yay.
So excited for Alberto to come in. So actually, if everybody that's watching, if you don't mind giving us a few moments to kind of like make the transition, and then we'll be right back in like a minute with Alberto. Hello, and we're back. Hi, everyone. Hello, Alberto. Thank you so much for making time and joining us today. I don't know if Alberto needs any introduction, but oh, Alberto, Um,
I was
but
on mute. Sorry.
yeah. But would you like to just introduce yourself a little bit for us?
Yeah, sure. I am Alberto Cairo, and I teach visualization at the University of Miami after a long career as a journalist. And then I have also authored several books about visualization, but that's essentially it. You can follow me on Twitter. I guess that people can just look up my name, but that's it, right? I mean, you are the stars here. Why do you have me here in the first place? You should be the ones talking all the time. I'm so happy for you. I mean, it's like you sounded so happy with the book, and seeing great people being happy makes me really happy. And the book looks fantastic. Let me get it.
That's really big, right?
Sorry, I'm too old. I just tweeted yesterday, by the way, that in order to get this book on your hand, you need to sort of like exercise your biceps, because it's good exercise. And I think that it was Travis Dory who replied that perhaps a better title should be Data Stretches rather than Data. So I think that is great.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was so funny. But anyway, the book looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Well, the reason that Alberto is here is because actually, there was a question from the audience about why did you decide to do this book together? And the answer is that Nadieh and I launched Data Sketches back in fall of 2016, and we really didn't think that it was gonna go much of anywhere, right? Like we just thought like that some friends might enjoy it, and then there was such a great response. And then a few days later, Alberto was in a live stream. And then I remember the moment that like, I think maybe Alberto, you had to like, you were sharing some like recs, maybe it was a live stream for like Google News Labs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I remember you saying like, oh, there's this new project called Data Sketches. It's very interesting. I also distinctly remember Alberto saying, some of the projects, like my Olympics one, isn't necessarily data visualization. It's more data art.
Meaning comprehensible data
visualization. It was not.
I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, in order to enjoy something, you don't need to necessarily understand what it means. You can just enjoy it as an aesthetic. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh, no, it's fine. And I remember being like, oh, data art is the thing. But then Alberto said that like if this was ever made into a book, then he would have it on his coffee table. And I was like, Nadieh. What if we make it into a book? There's at least one person that wants it.
Yes.
We have a market of at least one
person.
Yes. Let's spend 400 hours doing it.
Oh God. Let's not talk about how long we've spent. We've spent like 2.5, maybe 3 years working on this book. But yeah, that's how we got it into our minds that we wanted to do a book, and we started looking for publishers. Looking for publishers is a whole separate story that we don't need to get into in this stream. But we wanted to ask Alberto to come on to the stream because we actually asked Alberto to write our foreword, which is going to be published via Nightingale. I think, was it today or tomorrow, Nadieh?
Yeah, I think that tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
I think so. I don't know. I may be wrong with that. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime soon. Yeah.
Sometime very soon.
We'll
be on
out when it does.
Yeah. But we wanted to ask you to elaborate a little bit on your foreword, which is called Eccentricity and Orthodoxy. Did I pronounce that right?
Yep. Yeah. Long words. I'm from Spain. We speak a variation of Latin in Spain, as you know. And Latin tended to use very long words, so I tend to use long words sometimes when writing about things. So yeah, I think that something that you forgot to mention is that after I said that, we got to work together.
You're right.
In a project. I mean, the project that you did with Google and with Simon Rogers and myself, and that was a whole completely different and very enjoyable experience as well. Yeah, that one, the culture one. Yeah, tourism project and the Beautiful in English project. Yeah, both
Yeah,
of them.
exactly. Yes.
I remember those days fondly when we tried to coordinate our schedules, living in 3 completely different time zones. And it was like evening for Nadieh, afternoon for me, and early morning for Shirley, which was quite funny because we got to see Shirley having breakfast every day.
Oh,
Every time.
I'm not having breakfast today. I ate beforehand. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Alberto.
Oh, damn it. I was looking forward to it again. I'm making that joke again.
But I do have coffee. There we go.
That counts. So yeah, in any case, yeah, the reason why I was so interested in the project, I think, is that originally is that for many years I felt that what I like to call the Tuftian consensus in visualization, although perhaps it's a little bit unfair to just label it as something that comes directly from Tufti, so many other authors, has worked as a straitjacket for visualization, that sort of like conveying the idea that there is only one way to do visualization, and if you don't do it this way, then you are doing it wrong. And I am partly to blame for that, I guess, at the beginning of my career, perhaps, but I started changing my mind years and years ago, seeing that there may be other ways to do visualization, that in visualization, there are really not rules that are set in stone. What there are principles and then reasoning based on those principles, right? Or based on what we know about how the human process, the visual processing system works. And that is not sort of like a limit. It's just a starting point towards something else, right? So, and then also the fact that in visualization, everything depends on purpose. So if you're going to design a visualization that is intended to communicate clearly, quickly, and get the point straight and get insights pretty quickly, certainly I would never recommend to do visualizations like yours, because yours need attention in order to be enjoyed.
We are able to. Sorry,
I know that you are able to produce those types of visualizations as well, but I'm talking about the ones that appear in the book, right?
Yeah.
I would never put, the flowery visualizations in a business dashboard, for example.
Yeah.
You know what?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
right?
no.
So there are certain circumstances in which the traditional way to see visualization, all the, the data in ratio bullshit and all that crap, that applies. That applies. But there are many other circumstances in which it doesn't apply. I mean, sometimes, as I said in the foreword, chart junk is not chart junk. Chart junk is sometimes beautiful to look at. And that experience means something. It's like the feelings that we may sort of like provoke in other people through the visualizations that we create, there's also value in that. And again, depending on the circumstances, depending on the goals, depending on the purpose of the visualization. So I saw data sketches at the time, and that's probably the reason why I mentioned it in the podcast or video cast, whatever you want to call it, years ago. Just because I saw it as a perfect example to illustrate these, that there are other ways, there are other worlds, that there are eccentrics that depart from orthodoxy, but eventually that unorthodox approach to visualization may become a new orthodoxy, a parallel orthodoxy, or a complementary orthodoxy to the current orthodoxy. And I am all for diversity and variation, and the more people who publish books, the better, and the more people who do visualization, the better. So the universe of visualization needs to expand, it needs to become more diverse, more varied, and I'm all for that. So that's the whole reason why I mentioned it years and years ago. Yeah.
Ooh, thank you.
And that's the essence of the foreword, essentially. That's what it says.
Yeah.
A little bit more formally, a little bit, and without the swearing, obviously. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. That is actually, I feel like that's been the data sketches journey for me, of like, I think when I first started out, I also was like, oh, like what the visualizations I make have to be so Spartan, and like, it has to be for a purpose. And I think distinctly it was my Hamilton project. And I talk about this in the book of like learning about delight. Shout out to Tony Chu for his like presentation on delight in storytelling or scrollytelling. And I think that's like, that is part of the journey for me. And I've like kind of ended up exactly where Alberto described, of like, there is definitely a place, time and place for very Spartan, very like serious kind of dashboards or visualizations, but there are just as much importance for something beautiful and delightful. And to me, as long as the data is not misrepresented, anything goes.
That's exactly right. As long as you tell the story truthfully and you don't distort the representation of the data, again, as long as you follow certain limitations that are perhaps imposed by how the human visual processing system works, you're fine. It's like the way that I usually explain this to students is that visualization has a grammar, it has a set of symbols, and it has a grammar that sort of like orients you on how to arrange those symbols and what you can do with them. But that is very similar to written language in that sense. In written language, there are really not rules beyond the symbols and the grammar. What you do with those symbols and those grammars depends a lot on your own preferences. It depends on what you're trying to communicate. It depends on the nature of the story, depends on the nature of the audience, depends on the context in which you're doing the writing. So perhaps we should apply that thinking more and more to visualization, to see visualization literally as a language in that sense as well. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I think also the sort of explosion of new ways to create visualizations, especially on the digital realm with D3 and then Tableau and others, has really also been able to open up this field of having this sort of parallel path into the more eccentric visualizations over the last decade, because actually next week is going to be D3's 10-year anniversary. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Anyway.
February 17th. Yeah,
Wow,
we're planning.
I still remember when it was. I'm so old.
It's been 10 years.
I still remember Flash. You're both so young that probably you don't remember Flash.
Oh,
I know of Flash.
Yeah, I've never worked it.
Yeah.
I've seen Flash things.
When damn Steve Jobs killed Flash by not enabling it in the iPad, I felt so outraged because I devoted so many years to learning Flash and ActionScript and all that, and then those skills became completely useless. But in any case, I'm talking too much. So talk about what was the most challenging part of writing the book? I'm super interested in that. Other than the design and about the writing itself, what was the most challenging part, you would say?
Ooh, Nadieh, I think Nadieh and I have opposite answers. You want to go first, Nadieh?
Yeah. So mine was not having the book become 600 pages. I like to explain every little thing. If you I write blog posts about my some of my client works and project works that I do, and they are very long, very, very long. And so the same happened for my data sketches write-ups. And for the book, I really had to kind of, not everything that I was talking about was really useful. It just kind of gets jabbery and maybe even like a little bit boring in that way, or not well enough explained. So with the help of a really great editor that we, Shirley and I hired, we streamlined that and really decided, so far, this is the important part. This is the core of your story, and this is keeping it within like 30 pages instead of 50 pages per chapter.
The editing is as important as the writing itself, right? That's something that you learn the hard way.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Editing that you write is the most important part, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. So I feel like this book has taught us, I think the most important thing it has taught us is just because we can do something does not mean we should do it, and we should hire professionals. So that was just because we can design something does not mean that it should be our design, because that's not our domain of expertise. Just because we can edit does not mean we should edit our book, because we're not the best at it. And the two editors that we had the pleasure of working with, they were so good at helping Nadieh kind of like trim down. And my challenge was the exact opposite of Nadieh's, because I really dislike writing. I don't know why I was like, Nadieh, let's write a book. I super dislike writing, in that I'm really bad at expanding on my thought process. So some of my data sketches write-ups, they're literally, I just dump a bunch of screenshots, and then on the ones in the website, I literally dumped a bunch of screenshots and had like one or two sentences in between to be like, this is what I did. So my challenge in writing the book was to have to expand on my thought process and trying to remember why I did things like the way I did like 2 years ago. And I remember Nadieh like was super like helpful and supportive through this, and she left me comments where she was like, "Oh, I would love to hear more about like this part, or like, can you expand on this part?" And I remember there was like quite a few notes that was like, "Oh, why did you choose this color palette?" And I was like, no reason. They just look
I
good
just
together.
liked it. Yeah.
They were pretty. And there are parts like that in the book too. But our editors were so good at giving us that feedback of like, for me, places where, because she's a technical editor, and she has a coding background actually. So she was like, even though she didn't know D3 or DataVis, she was able to be like, okay, with my like background, this is what I'm confused with. So yeah, it was a process.
Yeah, no, I understand. The first book is also is usually the most challenging one, because is the book in which you make all the mistakes that you can correct, that you can catch in some cases. Sometimes you don't. And fortunately, in your case, you were able to work with people who helped you identify the problems before they got printed, which is great, right? And the end result is fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have a few questions for you, because we got some questions from the audience that were like, actually, it might be funner to just hear your answers. So the very first question, I know you're like, this is our book celebration, but we actually,
this is your show. Yeah.
But we actually just like, I don't know, maybe Nadieh and I have been like, we've been doing a lot of interviews for this like book. So then we're like, we don't know what other unique things to say. So we're gonna bring Alberto in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, shoot, I'm here.
And the first one, which we thought was such a cute question, is, I'm hiring you to teach my 5-year-old daughter's class data visualization in one class. What will you show them, have them do?
Oh, have them quantify something that is fun, and then visualize that. It's like, take, I guess that everybody here is familiar with the pudding, right? The publication that publishes data-driven essays, the pudding, which the website is pudding.cool, which is quite descriptive. It's very cool. But in any case, I mean, they have all these wonderful, quirky stories in which they quantify things that are completely unexpected, such as the size of pockets in women's pants and things like that. That's absolutely genius. That was genius. So, borrow ideas from there. It's like, think about my daughter, my 9-year-old these days, she came back to play Minecraft, for instance. And she asked me to join her Minecraft world, and we're playing Minecraft together and whatever, after many years not doing it. So is it possible to quantify Minecraft somehow and then create a beautiful, or within Minecraft, you can create visualizations in Minecraft, right? Using blocks in Minecraft. I don't know. I mean, that type of thing. I mean, if I had to teach visualization to teenagers, for instance, going back to the pudding, the pudding has a wonderful project visualizing the variety in the vocabulary of hip hop lyrics. And they have the data set. I mean, that's perfect to teach, for example, teenagers, right? Ask the teenagers to estimate what the variety of the vocabulary of different hip hop artists are, and then get magnets and put the faces of those artists on a scale, and have people put there, and then compare their assumptions to the reality revealed in the data or displayed in the data. That's the surprise that the world will have, because they probably will get everything wrong. That is what will spark their imagination. Maybe it is possible to do something similar with younger children. I don't know. Visualize Peppa Pig, for example, which is a show that my daughter used to love when she was much younger. So I think that I'm not the best person to answer that question, but that's sort of like the path that I would take myself.
No, these are great answers. I feel like this is a much better answer than I could have thought of. But also, when Alberto was saying all of this, I was like, oh man, this would be such a fun like book idea of like a fun like
workshop idea.
Yeah, like a series of fun visualization like data exercises for like 5-year-olds or high schoolers, and make magnets.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you want to do a book like that, you can tell Tamara or me, and we will get it done.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
because actually, both Alberto. So Tamara is on next, and she's our editor. But Alberto recently joined Tamara as the editor of the series of that we are published under the AK Peters. Well, oh dang,
AK Peters
AK,
Visualization
AK
Series.
Peters Visualization Series. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry.
So instead of writing books, we will get other people writing books for us, which is much more fun.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Yeah,
yeah, that's the way.
I was actually wondering about that. How do you? What is your thought process in finding new books to go into the series?
Just finding great people. I mean, that's it. I mean, you see someone who's doing a great thing, and you tell them. You don't even ask them, would you like to do a book? As you probably, I mean, I don't remember whether I told you both these, but I think that was the case. Well, this is something that I did with other people, which is not to ask them, do you want to do a book? But tell them directly, you need to do a book about these. And for some reason, I guess that is because I've been in this field for so long and I have books published myself that I sort of have developed this sort of like authority that I don't really like to have. But in some cases, that sort of like moral authority comes in handy because people listen to you. And when you tell someone, yes, you do need to do a book about these, they sometimes listen, which is something that I again, as I said before, I want more and more people to write about these. I really, for example, like, the appearance of Nightingale publication fully devoted to visualization, have more voices rather than fewer voices, having more diversity in the field, having a more international approach. In my next book, for example, which is going to be, I guess that similar in nature to data sketches, is like not about a particular artist, but I'm planning to talk to a lot of people about their thinking process, not necessarily in terms of technology, but more in terms of ethical thinking, and the considerations that they take when they design a visualization. I want to have a super international sample. So I'm looking into people from Korea, from Nigeria, from Egypt. I want to learn more about what's going on. I mean, it's like when people ask me for references about my top preferred people in visualization, the first names that come to my mind are European, American, or Latin American also. I guess that my world is a little bit wider in that sense, but certainly not from African countries or from Asian countries. So I want to know more about what's going on. And then I'll also try to find out whether people in different places think similarly or differently, right? So again, my thinking process is just, I see something super interesting, or I see someone who has a very interesting thing to say, and that I feel that could be expanded into a book, because not all ideas can be expanded into a book, but many are. And my approach is just to DM through Twitter and say, hey, you need to do a book about this.
Alberto sliding into DMs.
I put exactly into DM. Actually, someone the other day said that he felt a little bit sort of like surprised to receive a DM. So I guess that I would need to put my best Godfather voice and said, I have an offer that you cannot refuse.
Ooh. Thank you so much, GR Source, for rating. Welcome in. We're talking about our Data Sketches book, but we have which birthday is today. But we have one more question for Alberto before he has to go, which is, Alberto, the question is, how can I make sure, this is such a broad question that you have 6 minutes. Which is, how can I make sure I am using the right graph? This is the kind of question we get a lot. So we're really happy to ask someone else that have written really great books before we ever did. How can I make sure I am using the right graph for the information the users need from the graph? ?
Yeah. So 2 quick answers to that. I am more on the concise side of things because I come from journalism, not like Nadieh, who comes from science, and so it takes to write too long. So nothing against scientists. So as you know. Anyway, so two answers to that. So there is something that you need to do before and something that you need to do after. What you need to do before is essentially just look into the literature of visualization, particularly some chart choosing guides that there are out there, right? The data visualization catalog. There is the visual vocabulary, which is a chart choosing device that was put together by the Financial Times. All these resources can help you decide based on the data that you have, on the message that you want to communicate. There are certain types of visualizations that tend to work better or tend to work worse. There's no visualization that is going to be perfect. They're never good or bad visualizations. There are more adequate or more appropriate visualizations or less appropriate visualizations. So that comes beforehand. But then no principle, no rule, endures the test against reality. So what you need to do is essentially take your visualization to people and show the visualization to people, and then just have them read the graphic and having on their own without biasing them, give them the graphic to read, come back to them a few minutes later and ask them, what do you learn from the graphic? And then if the answer to that question is similar to the purpose that you had in mind when you designed the graphic, if there is a match, you know that the visualization is working. If there is a mismatch, it will not work. And I can tell you, that's the hardest part. I hate to do testing just because I am so smart. I am an expert in visualization. I know everything, right? This is very fresh in my mind because I'm involved in a visualization project right now for which I created a beautiful layout and the user interface. I said, this is really going to be cool. And then it was tested and it was complete crap. So we need to go back to the drawing board and have it redesigned. Just because I said we because it's not just me who is doing this. We need to go back to the drawing board and not start over because some things have worked, but the things that don't work, you will need to change in terms of graphic forms, in terms of encodings, and in terms of the user interface.
To your point, this is bringing back memories from when we worked together, Alberto, on the culture project with Google News Labs. And I remember the number of times that you had to turn my ideas down because they were just like all over the place. And this was like back before I had a good grasp of information design. And I was just like, this is a fun thing to do. And you had to turn down, and in such a nice way too, turn down my ideas so many times. And I remember during the process, it was so painful because I just was bouncing around all over the place. And I write this in the book too. But then when I looked back, so many different bad ideas. But then when I looked back, it took me a few months after to be like, oh, these are such good feedback. And it was actually from that experience, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about design, information design, and I need to go study. And Alberto's book, The Functional Art, was one of the first ones that I read. And actually, so was Tamara's textbook was some of the ones that I read. But I actually, I think I wanted to wrap up our special guest Alberto's section by saying, Diego said, what is incredible is that Alberto is finding all these great insights while sketching some awesome medieval battle. And I remember earlier on, he was also saying, is Alberto sketching while on a data sketches interview?
It helps me concentrate in the meeting. Yes, absolutely. I'm absolutely drawing right now. Yeah.
Is there? Do we get?
Really good.
Do we get a tiny sneak peek?
Yes, I tweeted it this morning. I think I started doing this new Zoom sketch. I do Zoom sketches during meetings, so it's a large format.
That is so cool. I remember when you were showing and when your sketches came, oh my God, this is amazing. When I started seeing your sketches on Twitter and when you showed it at Outlier, I was like, life is not fair when Alberto is writing 4 books, is an amazing data journalist, and then he busts out illustration, like all these illustrations. Life is not fair.
It's a product of reading too many Conan comic books when I was a child.
Ooh. Yeah. Nadieh and I read a lot of manga.
Illustrating things.
You just didn't copy. You just didn't copy the illustrations from the mangas. I did. I was always copying the illustrations from the comic books that I used to read 30 or 40 years ago.
That's what we're missing. Thank you so much for taking the time, Alberto, and joining us and celebrating with us. I don't know if you have any last things that you want to mention or.
Again, congratulations for the book. I mean, it's a great addition to the literature of visualization. I'm so happy to get it published, and I'm also happy to have the opportunity to use it as an exercise during the lockdown, so my biceps will not deteriorate too much.
You can do squats with them.
Yeah, it's great for that. So it's like multi-purpose. It's useful for many different things. Congratulations! Good to see you both. I will stay in the call.
Oh yes, please. Thank you so much, Alberto. Bye. And then everybody in the audience, please give us another minute for us to get set up with Tamara.
Damn, I wish I could be able to sketch during stuff.
We're not muted. Hello, welcome in, Tamara. Hi. Oh, are you muted,
Tamara? It's the standard.
Yes, the standard Zoom. I'm gonna do weird dances in between
until we hear you.
Nope.
No.
How about
yes?
Oh yes.
Okay. Excellent.
We're doing the Zoom calls live. So everybody gets to experience this. Hi, Tamara.
Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Please hold the book up. I've been dying and waiting to see. How big is it?
How do you not have
it?
Whoa.
I know, right?
It's really big. Yeah. It's really big.
Cool. So exciting.
Yes. So it took a while, but we got there.
Yeah.
You did. My heart, it goes pitter pat. I have been waiting for this for years, and it gives me joy to see it as a physical object in your hands that you can hug.
I'm hugging it right now. And at the end of our time together, Tamara, we need to do like a little dance, and we will explain to our audience why we need to do a little dance after.
Yeah. Got it. Is it going to be a chair dance or like get up dance?
I don't know. Let's
Should
see
I dance
how
with my cat? My cat's asleep. We'll see if
yes,
my cat wants to dance.
Yes,
okay.
Always.
Yes. Let's see how we feel in that
other cat too who's looking at us. So there's much to see.
What a beautiful place you have. But yeah, we can decide in 30 minutes how we want to dance.
Okay.
I might not have much room to move, so it might be a chair dance. We'll see. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tamara. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, because you were saying you have like a whole week of reviews.
Yes, insert grant reviews. Very, very action-packed. But conveniently, this is our break. I'm supposed to be having tea right now, but instead I'll talk to you because that you're even better than tea, and that's a strong statement. Very strong.
Yes. So honored and flattered. Well, hopefully we will provide you a fun break.
Yeah. So it's actually. Well, I guess it's actually Shirley who made the first contact with how we got.
Yeah, so sorry, but actually, we keep forgetting this, but I don't think Tamara needs intro either. But Tamara, would you take a moment? Sorry, we're kind of over the place. Would you introduce yourself for us?
Sure, I'm Tamara Munzner. I'm a professor of computer science at the University of British Columbia. I've been doing visualization for quite a long time, since about 1990. And I am one of the two editors of the book series that you guys are publishing in, and I am delighted to invite you into it.
Is it accurate to say that Tamara wrote the textbook for data visualization? Is that a correct statement?
I wrote a textbook. I am delighted and flattered that many people have chosen to use it. So
I think in my heart, it is the textbook. Anyways, Nadieh, I interrupted you.
Oh no, yeah. So it's you also tell this in the introduction of our book of how data sketches first turned into a project, and then how we got onto the road of making it into a book. And that at the start we had some issues with finding publishers because we wanted this thing that hadn't been done before, this coffee table book, but like also a highly technical book. And we were about to give up. We'd had a few calls, and then Shirley went to Vancouver, I believe.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, Tamara, you want to pick up?
Yeah, I think I recall a really good dinner.
Yes.
With you and your partner.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was thinking I had this uphill struggle to talk you into writing a book. And I didn't realize that my desire to talk you into writing a book was going to be met by your desire to write a book, but to find the right publisher. So I was just like, oh my God, match made in heaven. I don't even have to sweet talk you. You were already like primed for this. So it was great. Because I mean, from the first time I'd seen Data Stories, my thought was, you know, this is amazing. And it needs to be immortalized because there's always this question of bit rot. You know, what about 15 years from now? What if the site is no longer active? You know, I remember when we all used Java. I remember when SourceForge was going to be forever, right? There are these things that we think of as forever and then they pass. And so I really wanted this archival thing in print to be available 200 years from now. So that was one of my big impetus behind. And I wanted something where it wasn't just a coffee table book and it wasn't just a technical book, this idea that it could be both, that we could have an and world where we avoided false dichotomies, like and, not or. You need both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was like a perfect match because that was and I think we were looking in 2017, which is not that long ago, but I think in 2017, every publisher we talked to was like, they were either a coffee table book or they were a textbook, and they weren't down for the in between. And they were like, what is this thing that you're trying to do? I think I didn't realize we were being like, I didn't realize that I was being primed and prepped during that dinner. We just had a really fun, great dinner. You took us, you recommended a amazing dinner place in Vancouver.
Oh, there's so much good food in Vancouver. Was it Pigeon? Is that where we ended up going? Was it the place in Gastown?
Oh, I can't remember. I'm sorry.
I can't either. There's too many good restaurants here.
I just remember you had just come out. Huh?
Yeah, I get FOMO for not actually having been there.
Well, Nadieh, you have to come visit Vancouver when it's allowed to be visiting things again. You need to get on an airplane, or you could swim or whatever it takes. But get here, and we have to go to dinner.
Swim. And then I think you were dropping us off at our Airbnb, and in the car ride, you were like, so this data sketches. And that was the first time I had heard of the term bit rot. And I think as someone that was relatively new in my career or young in my career, I had never even thought about the fact that my projects would die. And lo and behold, a few months later, my Hamilton one had a massive Chrome bug, and it went down. And that was 9 months after publishing. And so that was oh my God, this is there, Tamara's wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom is just another word for bitter experience.
You told us about those too. We actually had a great question again from the audience about what was your favorite part about putting together a book. And Nadieh and I were brainstorming this, and then we realized it was basically all of our we were like, I don't think we enjoyed any part of putting a book together. And yeah, do you want to elaborate, Nadieh?
Yeah. We were trying to think of we couldn't really say that we enjoyed any part. It's like which one was the least bad of it in a way. However, then we remembered, of course, that we did all of these interactions with Tamara, who's been championing us through the struggle, because it has been a struggle for us trying to find the time, besides work, to do this, and then we would send Tamara an email, and she would jump on a call with us, and we'd be ready to go again after it. And then especially, I don't remember when it was, maybe 2019. I was in San Francisco. Yes, and we You were there too when we went to dinner in Palo Alto.
Hello too.
And that was such a great time. I don't even remember where we went, but we ended up in a chocolate and wine bar.
Yeah.
We went to Ruby Rangoon Ruby in Palo Alto. I think we had tea leaf salad, and then
Oh right.
that was the
good.
very actually when we were talking about this question, that was like Nadieh's immediate answer. The dinner with Tamara, where we like fleshed out. I think we fleshed out all of the kind of like the tech and tools section, right? We talked through. We can show this part later, but like we have like a whole intro part that's like talking about our tech. The technologies and tools and how we were going to format them, and do we need like an appendix? No, we don't need an appendix. We just need like to list out our lessons. Like Tamara just guided us through the whole like kind of like the not the book chapters and the like the body of the book content, but rather kind of like all of the packaging around the book. Like Tamara guided us through that in that. And then we ate chocolate. Was it actually no gelato? Was it gelato? And we had
Chocolate.
wine. Was it chocolate? Oh,
There was definitely chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
Oh, well, I couldn't remember if it was chocolate gelato. No, you're right. It was
actual chocolate. We have standards, and chocolate dominates gelato.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Just to be
sorry.
clear.
I'm 100% certain that like Tamara took us on a mission to find chocolate dessert through like downtown Palo Alto. I think like we like tried a few different places until Tamara was like, this is the one. Was it?
Yeah, there was some consultation of Yelp. I mean, I no longer actually know all of the food in Palo Alto since I blinked and 20 years went by since I've lived there, which I find surprising.
Oh yeah, that's
Apparently
right.
that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was, this sort of, what is there in the book that's beyond what was already on the website? And I think that's really, there's tightening up everything that was there, but then there's like, what do you add that's new? And I mean, I think what's interesting about books is they give you the opportunity to reflect and do big picture stuff in a way that's not as common with so many of the smaller things we do. And so, just like a thesis is an opportunity to look back on your own previous work and reflect and think, knowing now what I know, what do I think about this? You guys had this pretty unique opportunity that you did this big, not quite all consuming, but substantial project that consumed at parts all of your lives. I know, but burstily, right? There were things in between. So, and then you had this opportunity to think back about, okay, so what do I take from this? What do I learn from this? How can I go beyond even what I thought in that moment and tell you something new? And I think that's really what the opportunity for a book gives you. I mean, I would be lying through my teeth if I said that book writing was easy. I keep trying to sweet talk people into writing books as book editor, but I can't lie. I can't be like, this will be a walk in the park that is trivial. But the satisfaction when you're done, oh my God. Like that's what makes it worth it, is the moment of book hugging. And not just that's the moment that you get to glory in today, but it's going to be these moments over the years to come, even decades to come, where people will come up to you and be like, this book changed my life in this way. And then you'll just get this flood of joy. Cool. And that's the part where it can have an impact for so long after you do it. It's like, how some projects you do a little bit of work up front and then a lot of it comes later. With books, all the work is at the beginning, and then the book is out in the world, and it does its thing and flows back to you the rewards over like years to decades.
Yes, I think that's definitely one of the things that we were also hoping for, besides the preventing the bit rot. Not creating this book for us was really a way to sort of encapsulate the project, but also with the hope that, the reason why we even did the write-ups of data sketches was as hopefully a help for other people to see how you can really start from scratch, from nothing, just a word, a topic, and then end up with the final version. And so also, again, with the book, that would definitely be, I think, one of our greatest sort of hopes, that it really helps people and changes them to make better data visualizations, or even get into data visualization, that they might actually grab this book thinking that, oh, that looks pretty and colorful, and then be entrapped by the bug of data visualization, that it's pretty cool.
We trap you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of resources for people that are brand new, that are like, so you care about Viz, let me talk you through your first bar chart in D3. But you guys have this book for this middle tier of people who has already become intrigued and wants to go from sort of intrigued beginner to fluent. And it's that jump to fluency that I think your book really brings to the table, because you document your process. I mean, I'm a completist. And so the reason I love your book so much is like, you document it. You go from like, how in hell did I get the data, to sketch, 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 and then more sketch, and then code. Let me talk you through how I went from this idea to like math, to code, to buggy code, to goddammit, not that code, to this other code. Oh, wait, no, the entire idea is wrong. I got to completely change. And you document that part of the process so other people will be more courageous to do it themselves. And then at the end, you have stupendously polished result, and they see the dozens to hundreds of small and large design decisions that went into making that happen. And I feel like you've really illuminated that process that I think is completely fundamental to good visualization, that is opaque to most people who haven't done it themselves. And so it's like you've taken them along for this ride to get people aware of what it involves. And I mean, this is why I literally almost every class I take, at the end when I'm on like next steps, where do you go from here? I point people at the site, and now I can point them at the book to sort of show them, here's what's possible. And like just last week, as I was trying to decide what to show in class, because it was the lecture on, interaction and multiple views and complexity. I was like, okay, where am I going to find a result? Because multiple views is not in most New York Times articles. They're great for single views, but you guys have this sort of, things going back and forth. And I'm like, data sketches, and then immediately within 5 seconds, of course, I found 3 that I had to highlight, because I'm like, oh, this is a great example. Oh, this is a great example. Oh, this one is too. So, it's just, it's so great to get other people to see not just, the Hamilton Viz, but how did you get there? Not just figures in the sky, but how many star mops did you do before you got to your final? So the answer's lots. So that's what I really love about it.
Ooh, Tamara, is it okay if I read an excerpt from your endorsement?
Please do.
Yeah, Tamara wrote for us. Tamara wrote for us, the highlight for us was the Data Sketches collaboration is a glorious tour de force. 2 people spur each other along a remarkable spiral of visualization and creativity, and let the rest of us come along for the ride. When Nadieh and I read that, we were like, oh, this is so good. Yes. And it's in here.
Yeah, the book is not physically in my hands yet in Canada, but I can't wait. I'll hold my breath, except then I'd pass out and turn blue. Not just my hair, but me. So I won't.
Actually, we were going to briefly touch on, so just like how we started with Alberto as our forward, because he was the one that gave us the idea for a book, we end our book with a interview with Tamara, as kind of like the celebration of, because Tamara was the person that concretely made it happen for us. And we have the interview. It's called The Starting and the Finishing. And I don't think we actually ever talked about like publishing it on, there we go. Yes. But I don't know if we wanted to talk about it a little bit, but I love the title of that. Well, when we were we talked about this during our chocolate and wine night too, of like some way to like book, like to end the book. And what was our original title going to be?
Oh God, what was it again? It was really bad.
It was going to be Afterglow.
Oh, right, Afterglow.
Oh, right. And I was like, maybe just a little too sexual, guys. So.
And then we were doing the interview with you, and I think we were talking about, you were asking us about our partnership. Oh, wow, that is some bright sun. Okay, I'm getting washed out. But you were asking us about our partnership, and we started describing how I tend to dream a lot of the future, but not enough of the present. And then so I'm the one that's like, Nadieh, let's do this thing. And Nadieh is the one that's like very grounded and like being like, no, we need to like we like committed to this and we need to finish this. And then you were the one that like gave us the phrase for it. And you like kind of like had like you like insight and like grabbed onto it and gave us the title.
Yes, the starting and the finishing. That together we're like a Venn diagram that complete the whole in a way.
But this is what great partnerships are about, is that the two people's strengths spur each other on.
Yes, yes, it was always like that. We surely had all of these big ideas, and I thought they were amazing, and I would have never sort of taken that jump myself because I always feel the weight of the present and the or like the near future. And Shirley's always so much about, oh my God, this is so cool, and together we make it happen. She pulls me along, and I pull her back a little bit to make sure that we actually have 24
Deliver
projects and
the
data sketches.
chapters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Do not
feel
sidetrack.
yeah, Nadieh is the one that ensures that I finish. And there are so many times that I felt so bad because Nadieh would be like, Shirley, did you finish editing your chapter? And I'd be like, I'm halfway through. I'm sorry for taking so long.
Yes. It
So-
might be interesting to note though that because of the redesign that we like at the start we talked about the book and the design that Praline did. That latter part, that redesign happened in the 6 to 7 weeks before the publication deadline, and the actual so we had to go through all of these proofs, and it got down to the wire. We at some point, I think for 5 weeks, all we did was during the day doing our work to actually make money, and then every other hour it was just going through the book, and Shirley even did an all-nighter the final night.
no, I think
It's,
I think I did like 3 all-nighters.
yes.
Yeah, it
But we
was not.
finished.
We did finish. So we actually we did this earlier with Alberto. We had some questions come in from the audience when they signed up for this live stream that we thought would be much more fun to ask you instead of us answering it because we've been doing quite a few interviews for the book. We just feel like we don't have anything unique left to say. So we're going to ask you instead. And so the first question, if that's okay, is what resources would you recommend for teaching data literacy to a group of high school students instead of your usual grad students?
I mean, I still think that even the high school students should see your book because it is this lovely inspirational tour de force. So unsurprisingly, I think your book would be good. But I mean, I have to admit, although there is an amazing example of someone who did get the entire book read to her by her mother when she was like 7 years old and apparently loved the whole thing and insisted that they continue. She's an outlier, an amazing one, but an outlier. And for most people, I would say that something like my book is probably not the best book for high school. But there's this cool new book from Ben Jones. He's got this he used to be at Tableau. He's now at dataliteracy.com, which is the startup on training. And he did this book called Learning to See Data, How to Interpret the Visual Language of Charts, that I think is really well done, that takes a bunch of ideas out of grad level and even undergrad level textbooks and makes it really, really accessible. I thought he did a fantastic job. So that might be it's just coming, it's out this year, so it's quite new.
I see.
So I think that's a good one for data literacy. Not just because he's got dataliteracy.com, but that really is what he's trying to do. He's got he did like a Tableau and book earlier and some other books. So that might be my first choice because it really is targeted at trying to democratize some of the ideas. I originally thought that I was going to take my book and then do a whole writing pass where I made the language simpler. And then I'm like, that would take another 3 years. That I should just get my book out the door. No. Get the ideas in place and maybe there will be a time for second edition where mine gets. But even then, I mean, mine is sort of, I have to admit, somewhat unapologetically a grad level book where you can stretch it to undergrad, but it's not really aimed at the high school level.
Oh yeah, it's dense.
I admit it. One hopes it's dense like a Sacher torte instead of, dense like a brick. But to continue with our chocolate metaphors.
Amazing.
Okay, I love it.
It's got great, like I feel like some of my like most important data viz like design fundamentals I got from your book. I was mentioning earlier when Alberto was on, was like your book and Alberto's book I think really gave me such good foundations for the design side of things. And I see your book referenced so much when people are trying to teach data viz, like just like charts from your book. So it's dense but great. So we have another question, which again is something that we get asked a lot, and we would rather hear your answer. And the question is, how can I make sure I am using the right graph for the information the users need from the graph? Kind of broad, but
Right. I mean, I feel like my answer at some level is trivial, but maybe that's okay. And it's like learn principles and then empirically test it on humans. And so, you know, but maybe the devil's in the details. For principles, which principles? Okay, like, well, there's my book has a bunch of principles, Ben's book has principles. Your book is sort of more about case studies, although there are some principles in your additional things, those sort of interstitial binding things that I think are nice. There's other books, Alberto's books, Ben's books. There's a bunch of books out there. There's podcasts, so I think there's a lot of resources out there in learning the principles. But then the problem is many of the principles all come down to it depends, and it's a giant set of trade-offs. So so if it all depends, well, then what do? You have to try it out. And this idea that try it out on a human and see what happens. Don Norman talked about this idea of guerrilla usability testing. And so I think we should think about guerrilla utility testing or understandability testing. Is the thing that you attempted to encode visually, in fact, decoded by the human visual system in a way that makes your meaning clear? And there's really, you don't have to do formal user studies with stopwatches. You can like sit someone down in front of it and say, okay, what do you see? And that somebody shouldn't just be like you and your designer friend that made it. It should be someone who didn't help making it, and so you can totally go to town with doing really extensive testing, but I think you can learn a lot by even a pretty small number of people. Ideally, you don't talk them through it, you just see what their response is, but for the more complex ones, sometimes you do have to talk them through it, especially if you haven't done the legends yet. But I think a little bit of empirical testing goes a long way.
Ooh, I love that your answer is the same as Alberto's, which means that and I think
I didn't even get to see the Twitch yet because I'm doing my grant review, so I haven't.
No. That means that this is like like both Alberto and Tamara approved advice. Which is, I think I saw somebody in the chat come by and say like, oh, love that that the answer is to apply UX design or UX research in data visualization. And I think that's something that I'm guilty of being really bad at. And I think that like, I spent this book trying to get better at, and I'm still not that great at, and I'm going to spend after this book trying to get better also. I think the feedback. Mm-hmm.
I think it's also one of the reasons we went into this collaboration, because we collaborated not by working on the same code base and same visualizations together, but we collaborated in a way to be each other's like very close confidant in giving feedback, where you would never be you would never feel bad for asking. I would never feel bad for asking you for feedback on my thoughts, and I was always happy to give it back. In that sense, that was our collaboration. Yeah. Apart from like seeing how two people would kind of diverge from starting at the same point, but then go their separate ways. And even throughout the process, we had like a group of friends that we would ask for feedback for on these projects before we put them out into the world to get their feedback and then be able to make changes. And for one, I think more people have this, but for my final project, the Figures in the Sky, I finally felt that it was so important to get this one right that I even showed it to my dad before I let it out into the world to see if he could actually understand it, because usually he comes back with, looks nice, girl, but I don't get it. It's like, I
Amazing.
tried.
Oh, amazing. So we have just a few minutes left with Tamara before she has to go back to her grant reviews. So I think this might be the time for the dancing. Oh, we never explained the dancing. So in the starting and the finishing. Wait, it's at
Remind
the
me.
at the end of your interview with us, in the starting and the finishing, you ask us, and I think we can just quote it. Let me find the place. You ask us, let's see. Oh, what are you going to do the day you physically pick up a book that is your book? And I answer, cry and joy. Cry with joy, it's done. Nadieh answers, yeah, happy dance. And then I finish, just hug it, cry, tears, dance around, and then go on with life.
Okay. So time for the hugging, it's time for the dancing. Crying is optional.
Well, I'm not. How am I supposed to dance?
So sad, Tamara.
It's just like the pandemic. I have to give it an air hug because I can't hug it in person. Very 2021.
I'll just go around in my chair and be like,
chair dance.
You know what I didn't realize when Nadieh answered that is how heavy this would be to try and dance with. It's like it's not a very feasible
It's not just
thing.
a dance, it's a workout.
Yeah, it's a workout, but we need that these days. We're barely sporting anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what Alberto said, that like this is a workout. And then somebody said in response that it should be called data stretches instead.
It is. It is the second biggest book I own.
Oh, wow. It is 420 pages. We started out thinking it would be 200 pages. And maybe one day, Tamara, we can dance. When we visit you in Vancouver, we can dance with your book
if
too.
there could be a day when you both come to visit in Vancouver, that would be a day of glory and wonder. Or if we ever are all in the same city at the same time. Again, post-Charlotte.
Tamara, you just need to have a Data Viz conference in Vancouver again. I know you did it before. We just need to have it again.
Hey, it's been done. IEEE Viz has been here.
Yeah.
And Information Plus has been here.
Yeah.
So
you just need to do it again. Yeah. Someday. Yeah.
All right. Well, immense congratulations to you guys again. I am so happy. Can't wait to page through my own copy. It is a thing of glory and wonder. You finished your book. Yay!
Yes. And now we can move on with life. I have been so looking forward to moving on with life.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tamara.
Hugs to both.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, everybody in the audience, please stick around with us for the last little section, the last 30 minutes where we we're already on the setting up, and please hold. So we wanted to just take a little bit more time. We've been answering questions all from the Tito tickets, but now we want to answer. Oh, actually, we do have like 2 more questions from the tickets we want to answer, and then we want to start answering everybody in the chat. We know that there's some like questions that have come by in the chat that we couldn't quite answer previously. So maybe if you have the questions still, you can drop them in the chat now, and then we can try and go through as much as we can in the last 30 minutes before we wrap up. But we do still have the question of how long did a project typically take, right, Nadieh?
Yeah, that is interesting because it started out. We originally had the idea that it would be about 5 to 6 hours a week, just something for a few evenings, maybe some of the weekend. And I think our first project actually kind of stuck to that. And then it kind of derailed from there pretty quickly, especially when Shirley did Hamilton for. Okay.
Oh wait, here, yeah. We'll show. So hold on. Here's. Oh, it's so heavy. It's yeah, right there. What does it say? September to December 2016. It's so heavy. I can't even like read it. Hold on. Wait, yeah.
So I think the first ones, like the shortest, the smallest ones took about 20 hours, but the biggest ones is more along the lines of 100 hours, maybe 150 hours. I think culture was definitely one both of us for the 100, 120 mark, and then for me, figures in the sky was definitely along that line as well. But I think it averaged to about 60-ish hours maybe, and that's all along the side from normal day jobs, because like that.
And I mean that's why it took us so long to finish, right? I think we talk about this in a few other interviews. And I remember we in our interview with Mary from Nightingale, we talked a little bit about how a little bit more on how when we didn't have so much attention on the project, we were able to like keep it quite small, and because it was mostly for ourselves. And then once there was like more attention, I know I fell in the trap of like there was a little bit of time when I was like, oh, this external validation, I need it, and the next thing must be bigger and bigger. And that's kind of like why some of the projects, the latter half of my project started taking so long. I know that was a little bit similar for you too, Nadieh. And then also just for better or for worse, like data sketches helped kind of really launch our freelance careers, which means that we had more freelance clients, which means that it was harder for us to do this on the side. And that's why it took us like 4 years to finish this project. But I wanted to take the opportunity to show how to read this book. I can't even, okay, so because in here, Praline helped us kind of design this beautiful page of, oh wait, my mic is in the way, so heavy. Oh my God, a workout. But in here, we kind of show all of the different, we highlight all of the different information hierarchy. And one of the things that is that on the side of our pages, it actually says when we worked on that particular project.
Yeah, on the first page only, I think, right?
Yeah,
yes.
On the first page of each book, on the side right around there, it says when we how long it took for us to complete the project.
Yeah.
Because then after a while we started doing certain things a little bit out of order, and but yeah, that is, I think, the answer in the book of how long did a project typically take. And then we also had a question about what are your favorite programs and technologies for data viz? And this is also one of the things that we wanted to make sure we answered in the book. So
let me hold it up so you don't talk through the book and sound as if you're in the next room.
Thank you for sparing my biceps.
Let me get it. Here we go. What? Wait. Oh, I need to see myself so I know that I'm in the camera. There we go.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. So we have a whole section at the beginning of the book that outlines all of the different tools that we typically use in the process, and we've like organized it via as the data tools, the sketch tools, and the code tools. And we even in the code tools, we actually break it out into 3 subcategories, right? What do we break it out into? Prototype, web, and
JavaScript libraries, web, and prototype.
Yeah. So hopefully this answers all of the questions about what tech we use. And we try to, acknowledging the fact that like JavaScript libraries just move so fast, and like things on the web change so much. So we try to be careful to be like, this is what we currently use. And even, like I think one part of the tech tools we say, like when we first started, we used Block Builder, and then that, during the time of the book or during the span of data sketches, it got deprecated in favor for observable, and that's something we highlight in the book as well.
Yes. And also, I guess also one of the reasons why we didn't put much, if any at all, code in the book. So we do have these technical lessons, but even then it's either just really math radial coordinates or things like that will never, math is math, thankfully. And even when there are, like technical lessons, we do try and keep it very sort of not too much code, but just a little bit, and maybe something that will stay the same, such as how SVGs might work. So the technical lessons are slightly less tool agnostic, a little bit more aimed towards the web and JavaScript, but that's also why we kind of separated them out. So basically all around that is completely kind of more on the thought process than necessarily about the exact script that we use. Although we do share all of our code is sort of on GitHub if you really want to dive into it.
You just have to do a little bit of homework and find where it is. We don't point it out in the book, but most of our projects are open source. Yeah. Should we start answering some questions from the chat, Nadieh? Did you see any go by that you wanted to answer?
Let's see. I like this one maybe. This is the amount. Sorry, I think it's one of the later ones. I should probably scroll back, but just while you scroll back, I'll look at this early one. Does the amount of work per project depend on its initial size, or do you or your own growth that allows you to do more as you progress? You expect more of yourself. By
Gilliam, yeah.
Sorry for mispronouncing. I think it's a blend of things. It's sometimes when you learn how to do more, you will try and take on more. So that is, I do notice that my projects from several years ago were a lot smaller, and I was finished a lot faster because that was really only how far my skills could take me at the time. And now I can really expand on some of the ideas that I might have back then but couldn't actually create or didn't even know I could create, that I think like now I could maybe do. But it's also true that the bigger data sets require more time, more also in the analysis phase and finding the right story and finding the insights. And networks are like a special group within that for me, where networks are usually just hairballs when you start out and you have no way of how to make sense of that. And that's sort of a black hole where you don't know if you're ever going to escape and make it work.
I think something you touched on that I really love is one of the greatest joys for me of working on this project and just coding in general is being able to have this like archive of things that I wanted to do years ago, but didn't have the technical chops to, like you said. Like I think in my Film Flowers chapter, I even it was such a weird, surreal thing to read my write-up from like 4 years ago and then go in and comment and be like, oh, now that I have the technical capabilities to, this is how I might do it. And I put that into the gutter notes. But that is like one of the joys of having worked on this, of seeing the growth of like what I'm now capable of that I wasn't before. And this is something we've talked about a lot, even from the beginning, right, Nadieh, of like the way that we design is that we don't start by thinking about what the tools are out there and like what, we can do from a technical perspective. We start by kind of like imagining and dreaming up what we think might be good for the data. And then we like put it out onto paper and we sketch it, and then we get to the code, and that's only then do we start thinking about the technical feasibility. And that's why sometimes we might have ideas that we just don't know how to implement at that moment, but we have faith that we would be able to later on. This is a slight bit of a tangent from that particular question, but I think it really does tie in very much of, I think for me, it was a combination of like, I realized I could do more and more, but at the same time, I think that I got faster with doing those things that I thought, that I wasn't as good at before. So I think overall the net is pretty equal. I think what actually slowed me down much more was having some projects be successful and then having the unnecessary weight, like as in like, sorry, unnecessary as in like it was self-imposed of being like, oh, the next thing needs to be bigger and better, which I think and then wanting that external validation. And I think that was a very unnecessary and self-imposed thing that, it took me like a few months to get out of. And even now, like sometimes I have to be like, Shirley, nobody cares. Just do your thing. Like, just do whatever you want. Like, just do what makes you happy. Stop caring what others think.
But even then, there can be such differences. I had a client recently for which I did a project where the data set was 500,000 astronomy-based things, and then we talked again months later when I did another astronomy-themed project for a different client, which was only 50 data points, and he's like, it's interesting to see how you can spend almost the same amount of time even on these two very different data set sizes, because the idea of the smaller data set was much more complex and interactive and mobile first, while the other one was static. So there are so many things that make it, that depend, that add up to the final number of hours that you add. It's not nearly only data set size or technical chops. It's your intent as well.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. And I remember actually reading through your write-up about mobile, and then I actually really liked how you phrased it, which is exactly that of like, I always thought it was the bigger the data set, the more time it might take. And certainly I think the data exploration might take longer in the like bigger data set. But like, I thought it was really illuminating for you to say like, oh, the way that you kind of estimate time for your clients is also very much on how much mobile, like how much mobile support do they want? Like, do they want something completely different, or like, do they want some sort of interactivity? And like, that's different from if you want static. Even years later, I'm just learning so many things from Nadieh. Like, I think I read this like half a year ago, and I was like, whoa, oh my God, you're right. This changes how I bill my clients.
I'm glad that helped. I'm still learning that part.
Yeah. Estimating, budget estimation, time and budget estimation for clients is like a whole other thing that we don't need to get into. But it's hard. It's a whole different skill set. I actually saw some comments, and Jason said, follow up the book with Shirley's front end master's course about D3. Thank you for the shout out, Jason. But then that prompted some questions about, do I need to do the course is the course necessary to understand the book? The answer is no. We tried really hard to make this book, like, I think one of the original pitches we had and an intention we had with the book is that we wanted to be very beginner friendly. So you don't need to be a coder to get this book. The book is much more about the thought process behind creating visualizations rather than like showing you all of the code. And so you definitely don't need the course. Although, yeah, if you want to follow up the course afterwards, it's an intro to D3. And Nadieh also has a course on Skillshare where you go through more the design thinking side, right?
Yes, it's very, but maybe it's like the step that comes afterwards once you have familiarized yourself with making charts. How do you want to make that next step to make it get beyond the norm and the default and really style it and change it and make it visually appealing? All of sort of it's basically an hour of all of my through experience found best tips to share with examples.
We have such great friends in chat and audience because the chat is plugging for us. Like they're advocating for us. Yeah. So what a great point. Like after you read this book, if you want like more details, we have, Skillshare course, we have front end masters course. Definitely, like we should have put this in the book. Why did we forget to put this? Just like next steps.
Well, yes, I guess.
but also, oh yes, so the discount code for the instructions, sorry, the survey slash the Tito link. I think I did something with the logistics and it's currently down, but I'll reopen it after the stream. The two courses, mine is on Front End Masters and Nadieh's is on Skillshare. I'm sure you can just Google our names and those platforms, and I'm sure it will show up. And Rachel asks a question that we will get to later. And there was a quick question come by earlier about what is demo our low cat cheese? And so I'm going to have a very quick answer of that is a very nice, I'm currently in a very nice cabin with a social pod as like a kind of a getaway. And that was the support, the team effort from my cabin mates to get ready for the stream. And it used to say something completely different. And they were like, we are going to use all of the letters and make up something. So it means nothing. It is just my friends' support for the stream. But I think there was also some questions earlier about how technical we get into the book and the technical content, and hopefully we've answered that because that is a quite common question we get, right, Nadieh, about like, do we share code and how deep do we get into it? But yeah, hopefully we've kind of covered that in detail, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
that's true. That's okay.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of the questions that I've seen. I don't know. Oh, I actually can't scroll back to the beginning anymore because I think
No, me neither. Only
Twitch
so
cuts
far.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you, oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
Nope, nothing.
Well, I guess this, I think there was quite a good question about where do you find your inspiration from and how were you inspired time and again? Do you want to answer that, Nadieh? As like kind of the one last?
Yeah. I think for me, it really depends on the stuff that I've seen before I start a project. So on the one hand, I get inspired by the data set itself, the topic of the data. So a project about astronomy is probably going to have sort of a darkish theme in terms of colors, or maybe something that kind of mimics stars or some sky thing, and how I would like to make the design look. Whereas for the music project in the book, I actually made some of the circles look like tiny vinyl records, because why not? And it kind of made those sort of the top 10 songs that I visualized stand out even more. So that's how I get inspired. But that's more on the design side, really, for the way that I would. So I kind of first start off with just sketching how I want to convey the insights of the data set, and not thinking about the design at all, but really thinking about how am I going to get this from numbers into visual elements the best that I can. Thinking about, is it going to be static, or can I create something interactive, and kind of the screen sizes maybe. And only once I figured out that kind of works do I start thinking about inspiration and making it, how do I want to really make it look. And for that, so I look at the data on the one hand, the topic, but I keep a Pinterest boards, many, in which I put all of the inspirational things that I find throughout whenever. So I try and update these whenever I see something interesting, data visualizations, but also other things such as spirographs and natural history, historic natural history images and whatever. And then when I start a project, I will create another secret Pinterest board, which I will call my client food board. And I will go through some of these boards, and I will put everything in there that kind of like just scroll through, keeping in mind my project and the goal that I have, and anything that kind of sticks, where it's only a spark of an idea of like, oh, circles in that way, or maybe lines, or that kind of flourish is kind of funny. I will put into the client board, and then when I go into the designing phase, I have that on my screen, the board, and I kind of just look at it and try out different ideas, that the sparks, try and see if I can actually make them work. Sometimes they really don't work once you really start thinking about them, and go through that. And then it's after that mesh comes together, then it is 1,000 iterations before you're finally at that point where you're so done with it that you just want to throw it over the fence.
Yeah, I think I feel like Nadieh and I, we've like learned so much from each other throughout the years that my process is very similar to Nadieh's. I feel like the only difference might be that I'm very inspired by like things in nature, and I love going through like art museums, like different art museums. And kind of being inspired from fields that are kind of tangential to ours. And I think this is something that we both do a little bit, which is that I think I know you like to go through a lot of like the like information is beautiful awards shortlist when they come out and such. But one of the things that I know, I think this might be true for you too, but for me, I don't actually like keeping up to date with data viz in the sense that, or like other data visualizations, or like I don't keep too close of an eye, because I find that if I'm like keeping too close of an eye on everything that comes out, it eventually ends up like influencing my work somehow. And so I think I love looking at the shortlist to be like, oh, this is a great piece. And, I really appreciate this design decision, or like, oh, like, this is a good idea that I can maybe like kind of keep in the back of my mind. But I only do that like a few times in a year. And then other times, like, I try not to go like deeply, like daily looking at other visualizations for inspiration. I try to look at like tangential fields instead. And I think that's kind of what helps like keep my style my own. And so, yeah, that's, I think, what I would add for the inspiration part. And definitely, I think the Pinterest board for clients, the secret Pinterest board, helps so much to kind of like unify an idea. So yeah, I think we got about 5 minutes and we should probably start wrapping up, right? Is there anything else we forgot to cover, Nadieh?
No, what? No.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think so.
we can start wrapping up. So the very final question we're going to answer is, we got this from our editor, Elliott, from our publisher, which is and Rachel asked the same question in the chat, which is, when can we start work on data sketches too? What's the answer, Nadieh?
Oh, not anytime soon. I'm so super happy that the book is here now and that we did data sketches, but I wouldn't really want to start another one.
Not for years, I think. I think, yeah, not for a good number of years. It's, I think, oh, that's true. The idea about a book for kids would be really cool, but not for years, I think. Like, I think because everybody, starting out, everybody told us how much work it would be to make this book. And we were like, yeah, we understand. It's going to be a lot of work. And then I think, like, almost towards the finish line, Nadieh and I were like, everybody told us how much work it was going to be. And it is even more work than we thought it was going to be, like, even with that expectation. So I think we just need a number of years to wind down, and then maybe like for us to feel the desire of being like, oh, I want to write this book. And like, I think it needs that. We also, towards the end, this is the thing about wanting to make this A+ book. And I think I remember when we got the physical copies, we were like, Nadieh got them first, and Nadieh was like, oh my gosh, this is our A+ book that we're like just so proud to share. But that process was so painful to get it to an A+ book, because this is something we mentioned in other places too, but turns out Nadieh and I have very different design aesthetics.
Yeah. Yeah, we learned that a lot during the book.
Yeah. Um, yeah, where Nadieh, I think, likes things to be very like, it's like very full and detailed, and like, you know, there's a lot going on so that you can really like dive in and kind of discover things.
Yeah.
And then for me, I like things like much more minimal, and kind of like a lot of white space. So like even the cover was like trying to like find a good in between balance, and there were so many disagreements that, like, you know, I think we have I think I would like to think that we have been pretty good at like settling the disagreements, because fundamentally we respect and trust each other. But like I think towards the end of like before handing in the final print, the final like the yeah handing in the final version, I think we both were like, okay, we probably also need a break from working with each other on the on the book for a while. Just because of all the things that we had to agree on together. I think it was a process, right?
Oh yeah. It was definitely a process. We got through it.
Yeah,
It kind of reminds me of a relationship where
yeah.
you
I'm glad
you
we're
know
still
sometimes
friends.
one gives some yes.
Yeah. Towards the
No, we
end,
didn't have
it was getting really dicey. I'm just
no,
kidding. I'm just
we
kidding.
never had fights. We never
Yeah,
had
we
fights. It
actually
was
didn't
always
fight. Yeah.
no, thankfully no. It's
Thankfully not.
usually the other one just didn't really give any F's anymore
Yeah,
about one
actually.
thing, and then the other, and then maybe another point, the other one was like, you know, if you really, it's okay, we'll go younger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. The compromise was if you care a lot about it, I don't think I have any more like F's left to give. So
Yeah,
you do you. But yeah, so
yeah.
that is the answer to that question. I think it's a great joy to create a book, but not for another few years.
Yeah, it's nice to
um,
not have this thing be in the back of your mind, as in
mm,
there's always work to be done on the book. If not on the writing, then on the editing, then on the designing and the and it's nice that that's actually finally sort of coming down and we have this package.
yeah,
It's
still
great.
friends. Definitely still
Yes.
good friends, great friends.
Yes.
Um, so as wrap up, we want to say thank you so much for being a part of our journey. We obviously couldn't read everything that came through the chat just because, you know, you showed us so much support in the chat, but we're gonna try and
Mhm.
like save it, and then we'll try and go through it later. Very excited to read all of the like. Thank you so much for all of the congratulations. Two last things that we want to mention. We're so excited for you to get our book. If you could tweet or share with us any of your, like, as you get the book, any photos, or if you can share with us your favorite pages, we will love to get that. Please tweet us your favorite pages. And the second thing is, you know, on that similar vein, if you do have the time, we'd be deeply grateful and appreciative if you leave us a review on Amazon, or I guess I don't know what other sites reviews are important on, but if you can
Wherever.
leave us, yeah, I don't know where. I'm guessing Amazon is the main place that really helps with rankings. If you can help leave us a review, it will really help us have this book reach more people. I don't actually know how algorithms work on those websites, but I think it helps promote our book to the top, and then that helps us be more easily discoverable by people that don't know about this book. So if you do have the time, please leave us a review. And if you do, not that this is a bribe, it's not a bribe, but as a thank you. Sorry, that was a bad way to put it. But we just want to, as a thank you, we're working on something like a small thank you thing. If you do leave us a review, we'll announce more details about that later on. But if you do leave a review, we do have a tiny little thank you gift. So that is our two asks. And thank you so much again for being part of the journey with us. And do we have any?
No, I do like that someone says Goodreads is also a great place for
Oh
reading.
yeah, you're right. Goodreads and
Well.
Amazon. And then I think, yeah, I think Neil was saying that he was going to review our book on his blog, which is so flattering. Thank you so much for doing that, Neil, if you're in the chat. But otherwise, if you can even like leave us like, yeah, just a few sentences on Goodreads or Amazon, we would super appreciate that. Thank you so much for spending the last 2 hours with us. Thank you so much to everybody that pre-ordered, that, went in for the signed copy or just got it right now. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
And also thank you so much to Jason, who has sacrificed his own stream on Learn with Jason so that he could help us kind of manage the stream and all of the special guests we had coming on, because I don't know why we were like, it's great. It would be a great idea to have Alberto and Tamara come on. And then future Shirley will worry about managing the stream. And it turned out it was Jason. So if you are interested in any sort of like front end development, Learn with Jason is a super fun Twitch stream. So make sure to check out Jason there. And do we have anything else, Nadieh? Are we just hugging this book?
I think we've done enough endings in almost Lord of the Rings style. We're ready now.
Yeah, I think we're ready. Thank you so much.